Members, we've formed a quorum and is also the appointed time. May I call the meeting to order. This is the first session of the Finance Committee. We have two sessions today to deal with the items on our agenda. After this session, we'll take a break of 10 minutes, and the second session will start at 5:10 p.m. May I remind members that if you have direct or indirect pecuniary interest with any of the items on the agenda, please declare interest in accordance with Rule 83A to declare the nature of the interest involved. And please take note of Rule 84, where we have to vote on an item where you have a direct pecuniary interest. Please note the relevant. Rule. We will now continue to scrutinize papers FCR 21-14-15-31A to 34A. We will conduct a joint discussion on the 3 landfills and 1 incinerator. To answer members' questions, we have from the Administration Secretary for the Environment, Mr. Wong Kam Shing, Mr. Howard Chen, Deputy Director of EP, Mr. Alves Au, Assistant Director, Dr. Alan Chen, Director of EP, and also Mr. Lawrence Lau. We will follow our previous arrangements. Well, for the first 2 rounds, each member will have 4 minutes, and for the third and the fourth rounds, 3 minutes, and the fifth and subsequent rounds, 2 minutes each. May I remind members that your questions have to be directly relevant to our papers. For issues with wider perspective, wider policy implications, please raise those questions at the relevant electrical panel. And if we would like to move motions in accordance with 37A of our rule, I will deal with those motions in the order they appear on the agenda and ask members to vote on them after our Q&A session is over. For motions submitted under para 37A, I said this last time, but may I reiterate that for items that involve only 1 paper, such as FCR 2014-15-31A NENT landfill, if the motion involves more than 1 item on the agenda, I will rule it out of order and have it returned to members. After we have dealt with motions under 37A, I will put the relevant item to the vote, and I will deal with the remaining 3 items on the agenda using the same procedure. We'll now start the Q&A session. Mr. Richard Yan, Chairman. Under our Rule 39, may I move a motion to adjourn the discussion of this item? What? To adjourn? You talk about the adjournment of this item? Yes. You mean to adjourn this meeting because we've got 4 items? To adjourn all 4 items. Are you talking about to adjourn the meeting or the items? If I can't adjourn the items, I'll move to adjourn the meeting. All right, I'll move a motion to adjourn the meeting first. Mr. Richard Yan would like to move a motion to adjourn the FC meeting under Rule 39. Under Rule 39, members may speak on that motion, but each member may speak for once and for no longer than any time as decided by the committee. Directed, it should not be no more than 3 minutes. And will members who would like to speak press the button to speak or have a show of hands? Mr. Lee Chuk-yan, I move a motion to adjourn the meeting because it's meaningless to continue this meeting because the administration has no sincerity to deal with livelihood issues. As we can see, this is a government that wants to be against the people. And pan-democrats have launched a non-cooperation campaign to counter this government, which is against the people. We're willing to cooperate with the community. To do so, we should discuss issues of concern to members first and have them passed first. For items which are controversial and have issues that are yet to be resolved, I think they should be deferred. We've asked more than once that the administration rearrange the order of items so that for items close to the hearts of the community, they can be passed earlier. However, this government's attitude is to be on the other side of the people. They like to use these controversial items to form a blockade. They become a barrier, and they are placed before livelihood issues which should take priority and be passed first. And I don't think this attitude is only reflected in the FC. We are not going to cooperate because the administration has adopted the same attitude in dealing with the controversy over electoral reforms. As we all know, it's almost 40 days into the Occupy movement. And the humble request people out there have is to ask for genuine universal suffrage, and yet the administration is not sincere enough to address that. Since the administration has buried its sand over this issue, not doing anything to resolve it, allowing the whole controversy over electoral reforms to go on, the government is not in a position to ask FC for any funding. The government must change its attitude first. It should really work for the welfare of the public. It should get its job done properly and handle electoral reforms carefully. In this FC, we have said a number of times what items should take priority. Things involving people's livelihood should be discussed first, and yet the administration has refused to take heed, and therefore we ask that the meeting be adjourned. Mr. Leung Kok-hong, I think it's a waste of time for this to go on. First, we hope our filibuster would not affect people's livelihood. We asked the administration whether the agenda can be readjusted, and the administration said no, claiming that landfills are part of people's livelihood. Of course, we can all get that point, but I'm sure there are different priorities for issues where both the pro-establishment camp and we agree they can come first. So, Professor Chen, can you give us a reason? You just want to politicize everything. It's just like the administration's refusal to clear the sites. You want to blame it on the opposition camp for blocking your funding bids. As a result, there will be endless meetings here. You say that if this deadlock is not resolved, civil servants cannot get a pay rise. I'm afraid that only senior government officials will enjoy a pay rise, not for junior civil servants. Don't junior civil servants have to pay for transport? Senior civil servants are rich enough, and yet they will see a pay rise. How can you announce such a thing? The pro-establishment camp should be fair to the civil service. You should say that if you do not give a pay rise to junior civil servants, then this paper is not going to be passed. Now, junior civil servants won't have a pay rise, and yet senior civil servant pay rise will be approved by you. Wang Kok-heng from the FTU, will you filibuster over this point? I think you don't deserve this point just for this point. Professor Chen, you are not a civil servant. I don't know whether you will get a pay rise or not. Mr. Wang Kok-heng, please address the chairman when you speak. Is it fair or not? Those who don't have money to eat will not see a pay rise. For those who have, they can use the extra pay to go on trips. Just for this alone, you deserve a filibuster. Now, please don't think you can enjoy a pay rise. Don't use us as a shield. It's unfair for senior civil servants to enjoy pay rise. Does any member wish to speak? Mr. Gary Fan? Thank you, Chairman. I speak to support Mr. Lee Cheuk-yen's motion to adjourn the meeting because the scrutiny of the 3 landfills and the incinerator, well, these items are very controversial. Otherwise, starting from the beginning of this electoral term, that is the end of 2012. Mr. Wang Kok-heng, it is Mr. Gary Fan's turn to speak. Please do not interrupt him. Thank you. If you feel grieved, you can do so outside the meeting room. For a long time, the community has been saying that the SL government hasn't done a good job in recycling. It hasn't put enough resources and is not good and efficient enough in recycling. However, the picture painted by the government is time is pressing, and this is the picture we get from the administration all along. But in the past 2 years or so, we can see from the administration that although they have a 10-year blueprint to deal with our previous policy on handling of municipal waste, still we don't see any concrete implementation, timetable, and details of the charging scheme for municipal waste. We see a crisis in government, and there are various occupied sites in the territory. We must ask questions to stop the government from pressing ahead with items that do not have a consensus in the community. So the solution is to put important livelihood issues involving, say, civil service pay rise and assistance to grassroots, so on and so forth, to be dealt with first. This should be the right attitude of a responsible government. Well, even though we have raised our aspirations, the chairman has not accepted our proposal to readjust the agenda. Still, we have to send a very clear and loud message to the administration. And therefore, Chairman, I support Ms. Lee Cheuk-yen's motion to adjourn the meeting. Dr. Fernando Zhang? Chairman, I support Mr. Lee Cheuk-yen's motion to adjourn the meeting. We requested last time that the administration rearrange the agenda, and yet the pro-establishment camp claimed that the administration had arranged the agenda according to the relative importance of these items, and all these issues are about people's livelihood. I've made myself clear that I beg to differ, because there are items that involve allowance or assistance to low-income families. This is about giving assistance to the poorest families in society to improve their situation. I'm sure this item should take precedence over the landfills and incinerator we are talking about. I think the administration has changed its stance a number of times as to when the 3 landfills will be saturated. In the past 10 years, every year, the administration came out to give us different dates. I fail to see how these 3 landfills will burst the seams next year, as a result, making it impossible for us to handle our municipal waste. And therefore, assistance for low-income families should come first. And there are other items such as elderly homes and day centers for the elderly. All these should take priority over the landfills and incinerator. As we all know, we have a waiting list of over 30,000 for RCGs. And every year, over 5,000 elders passed away while waiting for a place in RCGs. And the proposal here will add 100 or so places. And daycare center for the elderly is so important for maintaining elders in the community. So all these are very important items. Unfortunately, the administration has refused to take our advice and would want us to tackle the landfills and incinerator first. I urge the administration to take a look at the Umbrella Square. There is quite a good recycling system going on there. And there are people who have strong views about the landfills and incinerator. They have done some research, and it doesn't matter. Mr. Chen Chi-chun. Thank you. The government is recalcitrant and has refused to readjust the agenda. Now, for non-controversial items such as pay rise for civil servants and assistance for low-income families, the administration has refused to pass them first. So I will support the administration to give more time for members to consider the incinerators and landfills. According to a reply from Professor Chen, all items are important. We're asking whether some items further down the list should be more important than these controversial projects. The answer is no. According to the administration, the agenda is so arranged according to the relative importance of these items. May I cite an example to illustrate that the administration is putting not so important items to serve as a barrier to items further down the list. Take the IT Innovation and Technology Commission, a bureau, as an example. And then further down the list, there is a resolution on pharmacies and poisons. That resolution has everything to do with the lives and safety of patients. That could have been passed last June or July, but yet we had to wait until October. It's about drugs for dealing with intestine cancer. Without a prescription, without approval of the DFH, a doctor cannot prescribe such drugs. Before the resolution was passed, most doctors didn't want to take the trouble to order that better and more effective drugs from overseas, bearing some risks. All right, in late October, the resolution was passed, and such patients can now have access to such patients. Still, they are not able to use it first because it's on the poisons list.
That resolution Surely it's more urgent than the ITB because it has to do with people's lives. However, the administration wouldn't budge. It says the most urgent agenda items are already on the top of the list. But I'd like the administration to explain this. Why do you put the ITB in front of the Pharmacy and Poisons Ordinance resolution so that patients cannot benefit from the 4 better drugs? Some of them may die waiting for those drugs to be prescribed. Why do you refuse to budge? Why do you pay no attention to people's lives? Why do you just want to argue and put the more livelihood-related issues at the back? Ms. Sitho, I speak in support of the motion. With regard to the 3 landfills and the IWMF, there are still many controversies. And yesterday, a Cheungchao resident told me that he really would like us to object to the IWMF. Actually, the controversy has been with us for a long time. Why do you come here to force people to pass the item instead of going to the district to explain things to residents? We asked you many times whether there will be compensation measures. You have to address people's anger. And technically, people will also ask you, rather than going for a big-scale IWMF, do you also promote recycling and reuse? So people will be reassured that you would not take every bit of rubbish for incineration and put aside recycling and reuse. The Secretary should spend time on this. So please do not table these proposals here and now. We'd like the administration to swap the agenda items around so we can pass the agenda items down the list so we can see the effect of those measures, including civil service pay adjustment, LIFA, and construction costs for homes for the elderly and schools. If those can be handled here, because they are non-controversial, then they can go ahead as soon as possible. Why will the administration not budge? Why are you so stubborn and hold people ransom? Those people who are affected by these projects, why are you so calcified in the agenda setting? And you are telling these disadvantaged groups that it is because the council is standing in the way, that is why you are not benefiting from it. In fact, who is not cooperating with the community? It is the executive. Just swap the agenda items around and things will be so easy. Recently, you wrote to the PWSC saying that you need an executive-led mechanism. So you're not going to swap agenda items around, and you even cited the basic law saying that there is an executive-led government in Hong Kong, but you can't find those words in the basic law. In fact, the legislature should be supervising or monitoring the executive. In fact, under ROP 19, Chairman, you can choose to turn the agenda items around, but Mr. Chairman, you again are reluctant to do this, to check and balance the administration. So we have no choice but to move such motions, so you will put aside these items and then talk to the public. Ms. Priscilla Leung, Chairman. What I heard are distorted arguments. People are putting the cart before the horse. Mr. Raymond Chan is blaming the council for not helping intestinal cancer patients. I hope he will retract his remarks. Please do not continue to stand truth on its head. You are holding the people ransom yourselves. You are recalcitrant. You are quarrelsome. I have noted down what you said, and I'm using those words on you now. If you want to convince the other side, you have to talk reason, or else there will just be resentment. Talking about the IT Bureau, in the last session, members had wanted to have the Bureau, and I was laughing about it myself, because the council wanted it, but you did not agree to the restructuring of government, and then you tried to paint it as if it had no significance. It is not only the items you like that are significant. The ITB is not my baby, but I understand some members have been expiring for it since the last session. So who is argumentative? Who is wasting time? Every time there is an adjournment, it is because of you. If you don't want to pass the items, then you try to lobby people, and then there may be people who object to it, like you. But you are not talking reason. You are dumping your responsibility on others, and you are doing the filibustering. And this is unacceptable. Therefore, I have to talk to the community after you have spoken, especially to those who don't want you to pass the items. I think what they are doing and what you are doing are counterproductive. Now that you turn the causal links around, and it makes me more resentful about your arguments. Suddenly you pull the intestinal cancer patients into this argument. I mean, we have to talk about facts and opinions here. You are representatives of the people, and if you don't like the items, you object to them. You veto them with the vote. You can lobby for votes, but you should not go for extreme means that are very resentful to lobby for votes. I think you are turning the arguments around, and I do object to such motions to forever adjourn meetings. Just put items to the vote and let people vote on them. Mr. Wong Kwok Hing. Mr. Lee Cheuk-yen of Labour Party is again moving an adjournment of the meeting. It is a repeat of what happened last Friday. This is a filibustering tactic, and they are holding the entire community ransom. They are putting aside people's interests and benefits. Mr. Lee Cheuk-yen and the entire pro-democratic camp is doing this, and I know why. I said so at the council meetings. This is because they directly or indirectly accepted money from the Americans. They want to throw Mr. Lee C.Y. Leung from his post in this term of government, and at the same time paralyze the government. Therefore, in the first half of this year, there have been filibusters. So, sorry, Mr. Lee Cheuk-yen. Sorry, I can't hear you. According to the rules of procedure, he should not impute motives to members. He is now clearly accusing me and imputing motives to me, that whatever we do has to do with the fact that we have accepted money. Maybe he has accepted money. I don't know. I would ask Mr. Wong Kwok Hing to retract his remark, or for you to rule against him. Mr. Chairman, I don't have to retract my remarks because Mr. Lee Cheuk-yen at a council meeting, please revisit the videotape and the audio tape. He has been said to have accepted $13 million as the CTU over the last 20 years, and you have also admitted accepting $1.5 million lately, so I don't have to retract the statement. It is up to you to explain matters. Mr. Wong Kwok Hing, please address this motion to adjourn the meeting. Yes, I will continue to speak on this. Do you accept or not accept or support the rationale or justifications for the adjournment motion? Well, I already said that I said so at the meeting. Who was shouting? He is imputing motives to members. This is against the rules of procedure. Mr. Wong Kwok Hing, please wait. Mr. Wong Kwok Hing, please wait. Mr. Wong Kwok Hing, please wait. I'm not thinking how I should rule on this. Please wait. Please? I have to do some thinking, and I cannot listen to you at the same time. Mr. Albert Chan, Mr. Albert Chan, Mr. Albert Chan. I heard what Mr. Wong Kwok Hing said, and I also heard Mr. Lee Cheuk Yan's rebuttal. He thought that it was insulting and offensive. Well, I have heard Mr. Wong Kwok Hing, but I don't think he was doing that. So please, Mr. Wong Kwok Hing, please address the motion. Mr. Gary Fan. Sorry. This is 41(5). I understand 5E, right? 41(5)(e). That a member shall not impute improper motives to another member. Mr. Albert Chan, can you please stop shouting or talking? I'm now trying to deal with the issue, but you have been talking and you have been drowning out voices. Please give me some time. Please give me a little time to deal with the issue. Mr. Lee Cheuk Yan, I have heard Mr. Wong Kwok Hing. It is not in my opinion that he actually accused you of having accepted money to do something. Please, the few of you don't talk at the same time, Mr. Albert Chan. Someone used foul language in a small voice. This person, I have to tell the world that this person used foul language, even though he spoke in a soft voice. Mr. Albert Chan, this is not your time to speak. I don't need you to tell me whether I have hurt him. I know whether I have hurt him. Mr. Albert Chan, please stop talking. If you continue, I will have to throw you out of the room. Ms. Sito, is it that you like to speak? Yes. I would ask you to adjourn the meeting and listen to the audio tape again, because Mr. Wong Kwok Hing clearly said that Mr. Lee Cheuk Yan accepted money from the Americans to do something. So he was imputing improper motives to another member in contravention to ROP 41(5). I would ask you to listen to the audio tape again. Mr. Sito, I was paying close attention. What he said was not direct. In the past 2 days, in the council meeting, I heard the same thing said time and again, and I did not hear Mr. Lee Cheuk Yan argue about that. This is not the first time he has said it. I have heard him, and I have already made a ruling. Your ruling is incorrect. You cannot do this time and again. No, you may think that my ruling is incorrect, but I have already made a ruling. Please speak to the motion, and please do not speculate other members' motives. Please be direct. Thank you, Chairman. Chairman, I will continue. In the last minute or so, I already clearly said that I objected to Mr. Lee Cheuk Yan using different excuses to dump his responsibility. Ms. Sito, he has sold out the interests of Hong Kong workers. When another member is speaking, please do not try to drown out the member's voice. There will be a time for you to speak. Ms. Sito, if you insist on talking while another member is talking, I have no choice but to ask you to leave. He has sold out the workers from the beginning of the financial year, the administration has said that $1 billion have been lost because of filibustering last year. How much welfare could have been given to the elderly with $1 billion? Now civil service pay adjustment is delayed. Because of this, contract workers, NGO workers, even if they enjoy a pay rise, they can only get a payback later. This is what the people hurting camp is doing. Actually, the items have gone through panels, and before that, consultation has been done with the public, and therefore we have these items at the FC. All of them are livelihood related. So we should not depart from our convention and act according to the agenda. As long as you don't filibuster, there won't be a problem. Does any other member wish to speak? Mr. Claudia Mo? Ms. Sit-Ho? A point of order? Yes, please, Chairman. It is about your ruling. At the meeting of the Council, Mr. Wong Kwok Hing said something similar. I raised to ask for a ruling under ROP 41.5, and the President asked Mr. Wong Kwok Hing whether he was imputing an improper motive to Mr. Lee Cheuk-yen. So I think you should follow that example and ask Mr. Wong Kwok Hing whether he was imputing improper motives to Mr. Lee Cheuk-yen. Ms. Sit-Ho, I'd like to remind you, I have already made a ruling. That is a final decision. It is not a point of order. No, Chairman, you said nobody said so at the meeting. I'm reminding you that it is just that you were out of the chamber. I like to remind you that it happened. No, whether or not you agree with my ruling, you can seek a redress through other channels. Through what channels, Chairman? Well, you can move a motion of no confidence. But Ms. Sit-Ho, I am not here to argue again with you. My ruling is the final decision. Ms. Claudia Mo. Mr. Chairman, you have ultimate power. You act like the court of final appeal, but we know the truth in our hearts. Let us visit the videotape. How can you make a ruling like that? We all know in our hearts who accepted money to do what. I won't say something that would insult people. They were shouting like that. Chairman, I'm afraid your hearing will be impaired. Chairman, of course, I support Mr. Lee Cheuk-yen's motion. I have always emphasized that the executive and the legislature should be independent of each other. But in a council like this, we can just act in accordance with the wishes of the executive, including you yourself, Mr. Chairman. You do have the power to swap the agenda items around, but you choose to dance to the baton of the administration. And then someone might rightly ask or question whether the chairman has accepted money to do this. Perhaps, maybe, just in case, Chairman. I'm not speculating. This council has come to such a low level. Listen to them. Listen to what you yourself are saying. Why don't you change the agenda items around? The 3 landfills and the IWMF are so controversial. They are to be in the New Territories. They are not in my constituency. But I have met Hong Kong people who were angered, and they were crying out loud to say we should never allow them to pass. Ms. Priscilla Leung said, just put it to a vote. Well, you are like voting machines. You may have accepted money to vote, and whenever we take a vote, you, the other side, would always win. You have refused to explain things to the public in the districts. And you have refused to reassure the public that the government will do a good job. But you choose to ride roughshod over the people. you choose to bulldoze the items through electrical. And Chairman, you do have the authority to swap the agenda around, but then you chose to toe the government's line. What kind of council is this? Mr. Albert Chan. Chairman, don't act like Mlung Singh when you chair this meeting. I know that you are stronger in your character than Mr. Mlung Singh. Last time, the president at the full council meeting handled Mr. Wong Kwok Hing's remarks, and at that time he said that there were media reports. But then, just now, he put it differently. He pointed out blankly that Lee Cheuk-yan has received money and do something as a result. So, this is truly improper motive referred to by him. So this is going against the rules of procedure. Well, when you have time later, please listen carefully to the video tape or the audio tape. The president at the full council meeting did hear that clearly. At that time, Wong Kwok Hing said exactly that there were media reports, and not the way he put it today. The division, the splitting of this electrical reflects the division in the whole society. Why have we come to this situation? That's a product because the government is directed by the CCP in its conduct. And then Mr. James Tin is also has also been fired from the CPPCC. And the pro-establishment members just toe the line of the government, and they were just wagging their tails like dogs and barking like dogs, following the government's line. Mr. Paul Chair asked me whether I have better words to describe the situation. Well, I said I don't know, because this is the picture I conjure up whenever I see the conduct of the pro-establishment members. I'm not a person of good imagination. I'm not like the pro-establishment camp members. They just act out of their own imagination, and they are just acting like cult members. Well, the cults really are here to rule us, and as long as what the CCP said, then they will just toe the line, and they are disregarding the facts, disregarding people's welfare. Well, if you have the courage, well, why can't we go with resorting to the referendum to decide on this 3 landfills and 1 incinerator proposal? You are just a lackey of the CCP. Mr. Wu Chi-wai. Mr. Lee Cheuk-yan's motion to adjourn the proceedings, I think that will help resolve our present conflicts. Since 2 weeks ago, when we started the discussion of the 3 landfills and 1 incinerator, well, members are raising more and more questions. There are 70 to 80 questions in this pile of document that I hold, and I have to ask the secretary all of them. Since the issues are so complicated, so we're not talking about the question of whether to approve it or not, and we think we must ask the secretary many questions relating to the details of the proposal. So perhaps we should adjourn the proceedings, and then you can take the opportunity to talk to the administration to see whether we can sort of swap the agenda items around and deal with the more pressing matters. I think this is something worth our consideration. More haste, less speed. This is what we're facing here at LegCo. Well, we often want to sort of expedite our approval work, but then we may face even dire consequences if we do that. in the past 2 days, we certainly knew that there was a surge in the cost estimate for the Hong Kong-Zhuhai-Macau Bridge, rising from $500 million to $5 billion. So if we didn't do our work carefully in scrutinizing the cost estimate, then we will be facing even more difficulties in the future. Chairman, I understand your approach to doing things, but then, well, I don't plan to move motions under Rule 37A. Even without doing that, I still have to ask a lot of questions, and I need clarification from the Secretary. So in face of this, Chairman, you have to think about how much time are you prepared to spend on the scrutiny of these items. Is there any way that we can first discuss and deal with less controversial applications first, so that the FC can discharge its duties properly, and at the same time, we can really expedite the approval of less controversial livelihood matters? Mr. James To. Undeniably, the 3 landfills and 1 incinerator proposals are politically contentious, and the DP actually has deliberated at length on these proposals. And actually, we had a discussion last night, and we would share with you our opinions and stance later on. But if the administration tries to force through them, no, I don't think that can be done at all. These are very controversial proposals, and we have to go through a very prudent political process. Now, the CY Leung's administration doesn't have any mandate at all, and the whole society has lost faith in him. So what should we do? And we still have to, the society still has to operate, and we have to continue working. And the CY Leung may say that, well, DP, give us some opinions so that we can implement our policies. Well, we can't do that. If we are to meet him, all we would do is to ask him to resign. And people may ask, is it the case that all things will stop? Now, our approach is that if there are proposals which are not that contentious, then we can proceed with them first. So that's why we ask the administration to admit that it is a weak government. It is just relying on the loyalists to support it. But then the whole society doesn't have any trust in the administration, especially for such controversial proposals. You have to have trust from the people before you can get it through, because we don't believe in your promises. And we may think that you will step down soon, too. So for less controversial issues, which can be dealt with a government which doesn't have that much mandate, then we can deal with those first. Well, the administration may say that the present proposals are also pressing too, but, well, that can't be helped. I think we can only proceed with those only if the CY Leung steps down. So if he doesn't step down, then we must go through the due political process. Mr. James Hammond, I want to share my views on the FC's work. FC's is there to discuss a proposal, and whether we should get a proposal passed or not passed, and we must have all the questions answered. Well, I don't think it's a matter of whether a policy is contentious or not. For every policy, there are pros and cons, and people who are against it or support it. And then if that is the case, then we should put it to a vote. And that is the way to resolve the problem or the issue. Now, for the 3 landfills and 1 incinerator proposals, I think the administration has answered all the questions raised, and the Liberal Party doesn't think that there anything more can be done. But for the Liberal Party, we will be against the 3 landfills, and we will support the 1 incinerator. Now, as to whether you would swap the agenda items around, now, perhaps the government can talk to the residents further for the 1,400 vehicle trips going to Changquan-o. Should the administration be doing more on that front before the proposal is deliberated on? I think the government has done all it can, and I think we have had enough discussions on these proposals, and we should put it to a vote, and that the proceedings should not be adjourned. Mr. Kok Wai Kang, as what Mr. James Tan said, members should know that there would be controversy surrounding every policy issue, and at the LegCo, while even if there are controversies, then we together as a whole should make a decision. But then some members seem to be saying that we shouldn't make any decisions at all and we should just drag on. Well, how can the society advance or move forward if we're taking that approach? And now we are giving top priority to political issues. And people are saying that people's livelihood or the workers' livelihood are being affected because there are major political incidents in Hong Kong. But then pan-Democrats seem to deny that this is happening. And I think the people can tell right from wrong. And for every FC meeting, somebody would raise that the proceedings be adjourned. Now, let me cite this simple example. If there is somebody who is robbing you, and then suddenly he was trying to pretend to be merciful and then give you $20 to so that you can travel home. So the robber, is the robber a good person or a bad guy? So people in Hong Kong should be clear-minded. And we should not ask Hong Kong to stand still because of the political issues you raised. And we shouldn't be made to wait until the next election before we can get you out. Well, the next election is going to be held several years down the line. Should we wait and let everything cease operation until we have the next election? So even if there are controversies, we should still move forward. Now, especially for these 3 landfills and 1 incinerator proposals, all of us know that we have several thousand tons of food waste every day, and those who have been on the who are on the Environmental Affairs Panel and visited South Korea, we all understand that if we are to nurture or change people's habits in waste reduction, that may take 10 years' time. So should we wait for 10 years before we make a decision on these proposals on 3 landfills and 1 incinerator? I think we should proceed with those and then forge consensus on the way. I think we should deal with issues in Hong Kong in a rational manner, and we should not let problems unresolved. Mr. Alberto, Mr. Kwok just now said that we are trying to play tricks on people. Well, I would rather say that the government is really playing tricks on us. Well, we have all these livelihood issues, the rise of civil servants, and so on. Now, for the 3 landfills and 1 incinerator proposals, it is not just merely a livelihood issue. There are many policy problems or contention around the policies, and to deal with those, it may take longer. Now, there are issues which are less contentious. For example, civil servants' pay rise. Well, so why don't you advance the discussion of this item? Isn't it the government who is trying to play tricks with us, on us? Well, let me cite another example. Well, there are issues which are less controversial, and the deliberation of which takes a shorter period. So why don't we proceed with discussion of these items first? So don't just hear or believe what the administration says and point the accusing fingers at the Democratic Party. So that's why I support the motion for adjourning the proceedings so that the government can consider afresh the agenda items. We should proceed with the easier proposals first. And the government is insisting that the contentious issues be placed on as the first agenda item. Well, what good does it do to us, apart from then that the government tries to just be stubborn and obstinate? So please, the administration, consider it again, and also pro-establishment members, please help the government so that we can deal with the easier matters first. I believe that for some items, the members will get them passed very quickly. Well, we are just raising the first and the second round of questions relating to 3 landfills and 1 incinerator. Well, even if you cut our short speaking time to 2 minutes, and then every one of us may have 8 to 10 questions to ask you, because there are simply too many questions to ask. Dr. Kenneth Chan. 3 green groups, Friends of the Earth, Conservancy Association, and another green group, issued an open letter, and also they sent the letters to all FC members, and I asked the clerk whether the documents would be tabled, but since the clerk said that since we've all received emails, so they are not tabled. So the reality is that they said that the waste reduction targets are not being achieved, and the government has been doing badly in promoting waste reduction. They insist that the solution lies in waste reduction at source, and they ask the administration to do good work in waste reduction at source first. These green groups reviewed the history of the administration's failures in tackling MSW. They were saying that they have lost every faith in the administration. And if you are building an incinerator with a 3,000 tons capacity, then that would not be good enough. You should proceed with waste reduction at source. So this is the point of contention. So this is why we support Mr. Lee Cheuk-yen's motion, and that we should proceed with the easier items first. Well, perhaps you can send a questionnaire seeking our views on the items that we should prefer dealing with first, say the LIFA and the civil servants' pay rise, so that the 3 landfills and 1 incinerator will not stand in the way of our passing these other items. So this is what we wanted to do.
I think it is administration which which doesn't cooperate with the treatment of MSW, I think is also about the government's ability. Well, Mr. Kwok Keung, who said that we've hijacked public opinion, has left. In fact, C.Y. Leung won by 689 votes. How is he qualified to scold pan-democrats here? Because his credibility and acceptability is so low, why should you defend him? Only a democratic administration can ensure politics and the economy can develop properly in society. Now, if you ever fought for democracy, tell us, but you are always an accomplice to another culprit. So what's the point of standing on moral high ground? Mr. Leung Yiu-chung. Thank you, Chairman. Well, pan-democrats say that the administration is deliberately doing this to counter us. In fact, it could have adjusted the agenda. We have given the administration a list, a very specific list, hoping that the administration can juggle with the agenda again, and it has refused to do so, saying that it is not a convention. And in FC, it is for the administration to decide on the agenda. So we say that the administration is bickering with us, and pro-establishment camp members said it's the other way around. Whether we are bickering, I don't want to elaborate on that further. The point is how we can resolve the problems. We can't resolve issues by bickering, so we should focus on the issues. We did give a very specific list to the administration. The ball is in the administration's court because the administration plays a role of running the community or running society. So does the administration want these conflicts to aggravate and does nothing to ease tension? The administration has an important role and duty to resolve conflicts in society. It shouldn't be there to create conflicts. If the administration insists on things that won't benefit society, why should it insist on doing so? It will only intensify and aggravate matters. In fact, many of us who have spoken have told you very clearly that we are willing to endorse some issues or some agenda items very expeditiously. We have already told you our position, and yet the administration is so stubborn and insists on putting these contentious items first. Contention about the 3 landfills and 1 incinerator doesn't just exist inside this council. Out there in the community, there are dissenting voices as well. So it is the administration's duty to address those concerns, and yet the administration has decided to refuse those concerns and ask us to pass the projects. This is not the right attitude of administration, which is supposed to resolve tensions. Mr. Tam Yu-chung, Mr. Leung Kwok said that it's a waste of time. Indeed, he can say it again. Every Friday we meet for 4 hours, and every time there will be members moving a motion to adjourn this and that. You say you have plenty of questions to ask, and you should spend more time to ask these questions. You tell us there are more urgent items down the list, such as pay rise for civil servants and RCHE, so on and so forth. Well, Mr. Chen Chi-chun said it's a waste of time. Of course, they have launched clearly a non-cooperation campaign. Their purpose is crystal clear. Their intention is to force or to unseat C.Y. Leung. But as Mr. Lee Choi-yen said, you are playing the enemy of the community because people are waiting for many things to get done. And members of the public are very against, find it very repulsive. So if you are directly elected members, you should listen to public opinion. Dr. Kenneth Chan lectured Kok Wai King, talk about the extent of representativeness. Well, people elected you to this council hoping that you would act in their interest. They didn't expect you to do this. What good will this bring to the community? So please do not waste any more time. I won't exhaust my 3 minutes. But if I didn't say something, I won't be able to bear it. And we have to put it clear to the public so they know what members are doing. I hope they won't go on. I've been saying this every time to no avail. I hope that they can repent. Mr. Chen Kim-po, I find it surprising that at every meeting we have the opposition camp saying that non-contentious items should go first. You've said this so many times, but Hong Kong people are not stupid. They know that this is a sweet-coated poison. Whenever the opposition camp likes it, they call the item non-controversial and vice versa. And as a result, the government's funding bits will be hijacked. I think even a 3-year-old kid will know that this is really very stupid. So please don't deceive the public. And it's surprising that we have someone who are lawyers here using this argument, because we've said it so many times. Last time, some members said that some elders passed away while waiting for place in LCHs. Is exactly because what we're doing here that has caused that. You should cooperate and work quickly so that things can get done. They are real culprits. They sounded very angry. In fact, I'm even more furious. You want time to ask questions, then you should spend this precious time on questions. For some opposition members, they are very frank. They tell us that they are being uncooperative, they are filibustering. That's good, but some members use other arguments. So I am very strongly against this motion to adjourn the meeting. Mr. Kwok Him, in the council, I think we should always use reason and discuss issues in a rational manner. But those who speak loudly will use verbal violence to hurl insults at other members. They use remarks that are bad examples for children in society. What's the point of going on if we have come to this stage? People like Leung Kok Hong, Albert Chen. Well, those remarks from these members, should they be uttered by human beings? Leung Yu Chung said you should listen to the opposition camp and then you can pass those items we regard to be uncontentious. So should this how it be like? You saying that what you think is public opinion, what you think that are for the people is for the people. Mr. Chen Kim-po put it very well. You should not even deceive. You won't be able to deceive kids with such remarks, not to mention the public. You have distorted facts. Your arguments are spacious. Please retract those comments. Who are filibustering here? Who has caused the resolution on drugs to be dragged on for so long? Well, our debate is broadcast live. Mr. Albert Ho said that he had plenty of questions to ask. Well, do so. Ask these questions. But yet you're asking for the meeting to be adjourned. We have wasted 1 hour, 7 minutes on such things. You're repeating the same old arguments, nonsense, useless arguments. Well, this debate is televised now. Excellent. Members of the public can see whether the opposition camp is serving the public or not. They keep saying that the current CEO has only got 600 odd votes and they are directly elected. But you're not the only elected members. You are not the sole representatives of the public. There are people who talk about public opinion. Well, I competed with Mr. Leung Kwok-hong once. Mr. Frankie Yik. Mr. Leung Kwok-hong, please do not engage in a dialogue with other members. It is now Mr. Frankie Yik's turn to speak. May I go on, Chairman? Undeniably, we are wasting time. And wasting the time of everyone in Hong Kong. I'll put aside arguments of who's right, who's wrong. I want to do something concrete. All these items have gone through thorough discussion in the relevant panels. So my question for the Pan-Democrats is, if you think that there are more urgent items, assuming that the administration are willing to advance items 6, 8, 9, for instance, can you promise that filibustering on items like 2, 4, 5 will be limited so that we can move ahead, we can move forward? Thank you. Mr. Christopher Chung. I think it is very cowardly for Pan-Democrats to filibuster. They are cowards. Well, being legislators, you should just speak out what you think. Whether you want to launch a non-cooperation campaign to drag down society or not, you just be frank. Why do you want us to use such beautiful remarks, high-sounding remarks, to cover your cowardly behavior? Now, you are filibustering, you move a motion to adjourn. Please don't say that you want some items to go first. No matter how the agenda is adjusted, you will still filibuster. Don't play the role of good guys. Lee Cheuk-yan can only do harm. He can do no good. He is here to ruin society and ruin the legislature. You cannot achieve anything. Your role here is to ruin Hong Kong. So there is no need to hide your ulterior motive. Chairman, I oppose their tactics to move a so-called German motions. Mr. Chan Kam Lam. Mr. Albert Chan, I fail to understand what he was saying. Whether you understand his remarks or not is another issue. I hope Mr. Christopher Chung can clarify. Now it is Mr. Chan Kam Lam's turn. Mr. Chan Kam Lam. Chairman, last time we had the same debate, same adjournment debate, and this week we're doing this, and I believe we'll be doing the same next week. So they use adjournment motions to disrupt deliberations here. I think it will be the rule rather than the exception in the future. And the arguments they use sound so familiar. They are more or less the same as what we heard last time. So what they're doing now is meaningless. Still, I have to respond because many members of the community don't understand such spacious arguments. Every item discussed here is related to people's livelihood. The 3 landfills and 1 incinerator, they are really urgently needed. I think only Dr. Fernando Zhang would say that if the motion is not passed today, or if the projects are not endorsed today, well, the landfills burst to their seams next year or the year after next. But then, do we only start to address these issues when these landfills are fully saturated? This is not the way we deal with matters. In the past few years, we have discussed various issues related to waste. For environmental protection, I'm sure this Council has discussed with green groups many times, and the administration should know very well how this matter should be addressed in the community. And in this Council, we have had a lot of debate on the landfills and the incinerator. Mr. Albert Ho said he has plenty of questions, then ask them. Mr. Wu Jiwai said he has 70, 80 such questions, then ask them. The important thing is not to repeat the questions already asked, already heard and understood. We should not say that what we did in the past was entirely useless unless there are members here deliberately filibustering. Pandemocrats are creating barriers, not only in this Council, but in Admiralty, in Mongkok, and in Causeway Bay as well. The community knows very well what they are doing. Well, you say this is just a very humble request, then you should end this filibustering as soon as possible. Does any other member wish to speak? If not, then I'd like to ask whether the administration wants to respond. Mr. Lee Chuk-yen, please reply. You have 1 minute. Kwok Wai-keung said that we were like robbers. We rob people and then return $20 for the victim to take a bus. Who has robbed Hong Kong? Hong Kong has been robbed by functional constituencies and 689 for many years. People's livelihood have been robbed by collusion between the government and the businessmen. And Christopher Zhong and the like are accomplices. You are robbers. We want to do a lot, including building a democratic government, a balanced society, improvement to people's livelihood. People are poorer, and those who earn less than $14,000 a month have been insulted. So who is robbing who? We are being robbed. We want robbers, including Siwa Leung and the FCs to be fair. All right, we put this item to the vote. The division bell will ring for 5 minutes.
現在開始表決。
Please proceed to vote. Before I announce the results, will members please verify your votes or check them? Ms. Sito? It doesn't allow me to go back. I pressed yes. So you pressed for yes. Okay, now it works. Voting closes and the results are displayed. The results are 16 for, 32 against. I declare the motion negatived. Mr. Gary Fan, you just wrote a letter and it was presented to me that you would like to move a motion to adjourn item 160 DR. I'd like to ask you, are you talking about FCR 2014-15 31A? Yes, I'm talking about the Southeast New Territories Landfill. I'd like to say that on your behalf. If you think that I'm not reflecting what you want to do, please let me know. Mr. Gary Fan, in accordance with paragraph 39 of the Finance Committee procedures, is proposing a motion to adjourn our discussion of FCR bracket 2014-15 bracket 31A, our discussion on the Southeast New Territories Landfill extension. According to paragraph 35, members will be able to speak on the motion but not for more than once, and the speaking time should not exceed any time period decided by the committee. Because of time constraint, I would propose that members should not have more than 3 minutes each to speak. Those who would like to speak, please signify by raising their hands or by pressing the button. Mr. Ip Kwok Him, is it a point of order? Yes, this is a joint debate, Chairman. I understand that last time there was a motion to adjourn the discussion on a certain item. Now this time around, it is another motion to adjourn. Can I move a motion? Or can there be a motion to adjourn the combined debate so we do not have to do it every time? No, this time around, they are only targeting 31A. Last time, another member moved a motion to adjourn 34A, and that was dealt with. This time around, it is 31A. If a member would like to adjourn the debate on the combined debate, then you can move that motion. But when it comes to the vote, we have to vote on them separately. So I would like to move that motion, and that is to adjourn the debate on the combined discussion, but I'm going to vote against it. Well, yes, Mr. Leung Kwok Hong, you can certainly discuss anything you want. Please wait. Mr. Ip Kwok Him, in fact, I had asked the same question of Mr. Gary Fan, and that is, if I do not reflect your true intentions, please correct me. I have heard you say that Mr. Ip Kwok Him, in accordance with paragraph 39 of the Finance Committee procedures, you like to move a motion to adjourn the combined debate on FCR 2014-15 32A. And this has to do with the Northeast anti-landfill extension. And also, item FCR bracket 2014-15 bracket 33A. West anti-landfill extension. And also, well, is that right? And also, No, I have already covered 32A and 33A. Mr. Gary Fan has mentioned 31A. And with regard to your motion, it is about 32A and 33A. No, I'd like to cover 34A as well. No, it has already been dealt with. It was last week. Thank you. Thank you for your reminder, Chairman. Is that correct? Yes. Mr. Raymond Chan? We have dealt with 34A last week. Does it mean that we cannot revisit 34A anymore in the ensuing sessions? That is correct. According to which principle, please? This is according to our paragraphs. If we have a discussion on a certain item, members can move a motion to adjourn it only once during that discussion. But rather, if you want to adjourn the meeting, you can do so every time. This is how we follow the procedures. A point of order, Mr. Albert Chan, yes? Mr. Gary Fan has already moved his motion, and in principle, you should deal with that motion first. Let me be the chairman. No, I'm just reminding you. You should not be dealing with two motions at the same time. Thank you for that reminder, Mr. Chan. Now, one member has moved one motion, and another member is making a proposal for another motion. But I believe members are talking about a motion to adjourn the same things. Mr. Albert Chan, please hear me out. I never barged in when you spoke, so please hear me out. For the sake of efficiency of operation of this meeting, I will have a joint discussion on the motion to adjourn all three items. However, when it comes to the vote, we'll have to vote on them separately. Mr. Lee Cheuk-yen, point of order. Well, I think there is no reason you should have a joint debate because we have different landfills under discussion. One is Southeast, the other one is Northeast. If I'm talking about Southeast, I should be able to spend 3 minutes of it, and I should have another 3 minutes on the Northeast landfill. So you should allow us time to discuss every item. And I may have different views about the different landfills. So, Mr. Chairman, these are different landfills that we are talking about. We should not have a combined debate. Mr. Leung Kwok-hong, I think you are wrong in principle. The landfills are in different parts of the new territories, and we may not be talking about landfills in our constituencies. What happens to those members from those constituencies? You should not be doing that. If you do this for the first time, then this will set a bad precedent, and later on all such debates will be combined. Mr. Albert Chan, Chairman, I absolutely understand that you want this meeting to function efficiently. I understand that spirit, but no, this is not a point of order, Mr. Albert Chan. No, Chairman, power rests with you. It's just that when you interpret the power that you have, you must be fair to all members. First, Mr. Gary Chan moved a motion. It has its own value and meaning. Other members can amend the motion. Say Mr. A. Kwok Him can move to amend the motion moved by Mr. Gary Fan. But if he raises another motion, you should first deal with the motion moved by Mr. Gary Fan. And then you deal with other members' motions. Using a joint debate to deal with the different motions runs counter to the spirit of debates in this council. Ms. Starry, I support your proposal to have a joint debate and then separating the votes. Chairman, we all understand why this is done. This is not a new arrangement. We have done that all the time in the council. Members are continuously proposing to adjourn the meeting and the items, and we know very clearly their objective, and that is filibustering. Now, how should they be accountable to the public? How you want to ask questions on the three landfills and the IWMF. We all know that very clearly. So let us not waste time. Let us get back to the items. Mr. Fernando Zhang. Thank you, Chairman. Mr. Ip is proposing to do this, and it is a double-barrel approach. In other words, you seem to be talking about the same thing, but in fact you have different things under that topic. this is a mistake committed by many people who formulate questionnaires. In fact, you may be talking about the same topic, but under it, there are a few things. Say, for example, I support the West landfill extension, but I object to the extension of the Southeast NT landfill. So how can we vote once and express our different views? And how can we be able to combine things in a simplified joint debate? And I think if you combine the debate and the voting, you are confusing people's views on different matters. This shouldn't be done. We should be voting on them separately. Well, I think members have exhausted their views on this. I have to draw a line because I have the responsibility to allow this meeting to function. Mr. Albert Chan, you have already spoken. Mr. Raymond Chan, Mr. Gary Fan, and one more member, please be concise. Mr. Raymond Chan, according to paragraph 39, there should be the motion to adjourn only on one item. It is very clear. I object to having a joint debate on the 3 different landfills. But if you indeed are going to do that, I think you should allow this committee to decide. Last time, you adjusted the time for questions on the same debate because there were 4 different issues and you adjusted it to 4 minutes. And first of all, you should allow the committee to make a joint decision. And then secondly, even if in the end we're going to have a combined debate, you should allow more time. Mr. Gary Fan, Chairman, I don't think your proposed arrangement is logical and has interpreted the paragraphs in the procedures correctly. Whether it should be 3 in 1 or whether it should be a joint debate, in fact, that happened before. We are talking about Southeast in Takuling, extension of 70 hectares, and then Northeast, 20 hectares, and Chang Kwan O, just about 10 odd hectares. The 3 landfills have different geography, history, and distance from residential dwellings. Please hear me out. Well, you don't have to repeat what other members have said. I'm not repeating what other members have said. Therefore, I am of the view that the landfills are independent. They are unique. If we want effective and serious discussion of them, we should separate them. If you want to amass all powers in your own hands, or if you want to give up your powers for the sake of the administration, you can do it, but you should not take powers out of the hands of the committee. We are not talking about scrutinizing the items yet. Mr. Paul, Chair. Thank you, Chairman. Mr. Fernando Zheng talked about a double-barrel approach. Maybe he did not listen to you carefully. You said that we have a joint debate, but then we will have separate voting on the items. Maybe he is not skilled in listening to others. Whether it be 3 in 1 or 4 in 1, Chairman. Now, I stand to be corrected, Chairman, but I think we have already ruled on having a joint debate on the items, and now you are just digressing to say whether we should have a motion to adjourn the joint debate. So if we have already decided on a joint debate, we should seek to adjourn that joint debate. Mr. Gary Fan said he moved the motion first, so his motion should be dealt with first. Maybe, but if Ip Kwok Him's motion is passed, then it would supersede Mr. Gary Fan's motion. So I think we can have a joint debate and then a separate voting on those. I don't want members to repeat what has been covered. I have already drawn a line. And then now we have Dr. Kenneth Chan and also Mr. Yu Si Weng. Please be very brief. I have to deal with this issue soon. Thank you very much. Mr. Kenneth Chan, I'd like to talk about the technical side of things. Where Mr. Gary Fan has moved the motion, you yourself as the chairman have read out that motion. And Mr. Ip Kwok Him, maybe he thought he was playing a mahjong game and he wanted to win the game by jumping the gun. Now, I thought you would be dealing with Mr. Ip Kwok Him's motion, and I thought you were going to deal with it, and I'm not talking about you. I think Mr. Ip Kwok Him is not being fair. Mr. Gary Fan has said that he is moving a motion under 39, and that is a member when speaking on a proposal. And I don't think Mr. Ip Kwok Him should be jumping the queue. I think that is outrageous, because after all, you had already started to deal with Mr. Gary Fan's motion. I think you should continue to process Mr. Gary Fan's motion, and then we have the result, and then we can carry on from there. We should have that kind of order. Let us not go in the reverse direction, because that is very dangerous. If you allow anybody to jump the queue, and then there will be no order at the meeting here. Mr. Yu Si-wing, I remember. Members, please do not talk among yourselves, Mr. Leung Kwok Hong, Mr. Wong Ting Kwong. Please do not talk to each other at this meeting. Mr. Yu Si-wing. You ruled already that we should have a joint debate on the 3 landfills and the IWMF, and then we should vote on the items separately. And then we should follow the same approach. If we have a debate on each separately, then we would be going back on your decision. So please abide by your decision. Mr. Leung Kwok Hong? When Mr. Ip Kwok Him said, he said it was a point of order, so you allowed him to speak. In other words, he should not barge into the discussion started by Mr. Gary Fan. If it was a point of order, and if he would like to move a motion, well, that was not a point of order. You were wrong.
Mr. Leung Kwok Hong, so he's not acting according to the order. You are talking about a point of order. Mr. Leung Kwok Hong, it's my time to speak. It's not for your turn to speak. Thank you. Now, 2 members have moved 3 motions to adjourn the proceedings. And as I've said, now you have to understand that this is not a precedent, because in the past we did have joint debates, so this is not a precedent at all. Mr. Albert Chan, you may not agree with what I said. Sorry, speaker not coming through. So I made this decision. So I suggested that we have a joint debate on these 3 motions. But when we take a vote, then it will be Mr. Gary Fan's turn first, and then 31A first, and 32A followed by 33A. That will be separate voting on the 3 motions. But then we will be holding a joint debate on the 3 motions for adjournment. Mr. Gary Fan, you can have 3 minutes. So, Chairman, now I may speak for 3 minutes on sand. Can I be given another 3 minutes to speak on the other 2 projects as well? You can just have 3 minutes to cover all the 3 projects. This is my ruling. Now you still have 1 minute to give a reply. You have a problem with your decision. I condemn you, Tommy Zhang from Liberal Party, for making the wrong ruling. Now this is your time to speak. Liberal Party at this district said to the Changguano residents that they opposed the landfill extension at Changguano. But then Mr. Tommy Zhang, he is a member of the Liberal Party, and he is assisting the government to get it passed. So that's why I moved the motion to adjourn the proceedings on sand. Compared to Nant and Wendt, I think there is all the more reason to close down the scent. Now, Changguano is the 7th new town in Hong Kong. From the 90s, start of the 90s, up to now, 3 landfills have been built, and area 137, we are talking about the 4th time that the landfill will be extended, and 1/10 of the new town area has been used to build landfills, and Changguano residents are shouldering a more than necessary burden. And they said that the landfill will be filled to capacity by 2016 or 17, and it seems that they are telling lies after lies. And next to sand, there are residential development within a radius of 2 kilometers, and they are building 2 50-story buildings next to the sand. Well, I live in Chengguan myself too, and I've been following up on the issue for over 10 years. There has never been public support for extension of the landfill, and Sai Kung District Council time and again, while including the DAB members at the District Council, we discussed 3 motions in the past 3 years opposing the government to extend the sand. The government has turned a deaf ear to our opinions. And what we're now doing here is to block the passage of this expansion plan. And we want the government to first promote waste reduction at source. And if the volume of waste can be reduced, the lifespan of the landfill can automatically be extended. And the government should also do more to improve the environment in tackling the problems related to hygiene, air pollution, and so on. The government has been failing in its jobs on that front. And so what are we seeing the pro-establishment members here doing? Priscilla Leung was saying that she would do something. And Tam Yu Chung said that he would seek the members' views. Well, your time's up, Mr. Yip Kwok Kim. Thank you, Chairman. Why I moved the motion? Because I couldn't agree with these members wasting time and taxpayer money in the way they approach things at this electrical. Mr. Gary Fan? Well, you are elected by members of the public, and every member should be accountable to his or her voters. So my motion is that I don't want us to waste any more of our time. Mr. Albert Chan. Chairman, I would like to say that your approach in dealing with 39 is definitely wrong. You said that at past FC meetings, perhaps it was the act of Mr. Ng Lang Sing who had acted like what you did. Now, 39 is clear, is that a member may move a motion without giving a notice. And Gary Fan said clearly that he raised the motion to adjourn the proceedings on scent. Now, if that is the case, you should not allow other members to jump the queue. So Longhair was very right. Mr. Yu Kok Him's question is not one of a point of order. You allow him to jump the queue, and you are colluding with him to save time in dealing with the proposals. I understand why you are doing this, but then if you really look at 39, your approach is totally wrong, and you are acting like the way Ng Lang Sing did, and I'm disappointed. Chairman, please consider again, or perhaps you should seek the legal advisor's view on whether we can have a joint debate on the motions and then voting. Well, you shouldn't follow blindly what Ng Lang Sing did. The public themselves can tell right from wrong. They have their own judgment. So please make amends to your mistake. I agree that the proceedings be adjourned. The proposals of 3 landfills and MWV have been discussed for a long time. and the government is putting the cart before the horse, and it's not is lagging behind world trends, and the proposal is a waste of money, public money, and it creates all sorts of environmental problems. I think Hong Kong is lagging behind the rest of the world by 20 years. And actually 20 years ago, I asked the government not to do any more landfills and proceed with incineration. But then the government didn't heed my views, and they are going on with these projects, wasting money. Now, the Hong Kong, Zhuhai, Macau bridge, there will be an overspending of $5 billion. And you're putting all this money down the drain. So you accept whatever the CCP suggests, and whatever Hong Kong people finds acceptable, then you would go against it. And you are disregarding the welfare of Hong Kong people. Mr. Leung Kok Hong. Mr. Yip Kok Kim is abusing the rules. And he moved the motions. And you allowed that to go ahead. Well, if you review the audio tape, you'll find that you've committed a mistake. If you think that's right, I will do something similar in the future. Now, I don't believe that you would be colluding with Mr. Yip Kok Kim, or else Mr. James Tim would not have such an eventful treatment. Yip Kok Kim and Tam Yu Chung, they are bad intentioned, although they may speak things which may be appealing to people. You made mistake time and again. 39, it says that the discussion on one item, it doesn't say two items or more. Now, if there is an additional item, then that should be dealt with separately. If you set a precedent today, and this is all videotaped, so, I mean, you should be shameful of yourself. When Mr. Yip Kok Kim made his remarks, he sounded very grand. Well, it's no use that he raised up his voice. Well, all he said was videotaped. Well, what he talked about was not a matter of order. And we are trying to vote on Gary Fan's motion. Well, it's not just that long hair didn't talk with reason. Now, let me say this once again. Now, I'm trying to filibuster because the LegCo has lost all its dignity. Well, our discussions are being videotaped. Secretary, teach them how to hold meetings. I mean, we're not even on a par with students' meetings here. While you were a student yourself, well, this sort of thing didn't even happen at students' meetings. So, you said that the LegCo has a kind of dignity, but then you are abusing the rules of procedure here. Now, if Jasper John were the chairman here, he should already have kicked you out of the meeting. Please, answer me. Why? How come that Yip Kok Kim could barge in when somebody else was speaking? Should I ask the Hong Kong Federation of Students representative to come and teach you how to host a meeting? Mr. Raymond Chan. Well, Chairman, thank you for clarifying my query, and we've raised this motion on 34A, so that was already done last week, and that can't be done again today. So you don't have to worry that there will be endless filibustering then. Mr. Gary Fan talked about 31A, and then we'll deal with 32A and 33A. Then if we deal with all those, that won't take us too much time. I think you have made an unwise decision. The Pan-Democrats, only 8 of us are here. Now, non-cooperation movement, if we talk 3 minutes each, then that won't be too long either. Even if you are not holding a joint debate, a separate debates. Well, how much longer will it take? No, not very long. So you are now setting a bad precedent, and we have to speak on the motions, and we are not giving sufficient time. Now, 31A, 32A, 33A, we don't support them. Now, many people are watching the live broadcast at the 3 occupation areas. Now, the Pan-Democrats non-cooperation movement, well, it seems that we are not that uncooperative after all. I originally thought that Tommy Cheung was much better off than Leung Sing, and we should not be worried that he would act the way that Leung Sing did, and we repeat the mistakes made. Now, after today, I'm not so sure. Well, electrical members are unreliable, no matter whether they are the pro-establishment camp or in the pan-democratic camp. And if we are to continue with the non-cooperation movement, I think we have to depend on the support of members of the public. Mr. Tommy Cheung, you have to be impartial in dealing with these contentious issues. Even if you are allowing separate debates on the 3 motions, that would not take that long. And then you can avoid disputes in the future. You said you want the meetings to be held harmoniously, but then today you are not acting towards that goal. So the Pan-Democrat members, please come down to attend the meeting, and also the demonstrators at the occupation zones, come here and support us. Mr. Lee Chak-yan. Tommy Cheung, you should not distort the rules of procedures. It says very clearly that a member, when speaking on a proposal, may move without notice that discussion on an item be now adjourned. Then that is the discussion on an item. And the chairman shall forthwith put the question on the motion to the committee for its decision. So when Mr. Gary Fan moved this motion for adjournment, you must immediately put the question to the committee for its decision and allow time for people to speak. So how can you, when you should have ask everyone to debate on send, accept Mr. Yip Kok Kim jumping the queue and then moving the motions to adjourn the other 2 items? Well, you should have finished dealing with Mr. Gary Fan's motion before you deal with Mr. Yip Kok Kim's 2 motions. I think you have distorted the meaning of this term. Chairman shall forthwith put the question for his decision. Well, Chairman, you may say you have made the ruling, and then if we are not happy with you, then we can move a no confidence motion. But of course, we have higher expectations and trust in you than Mr. Leung Sing. But then, I think we should not be comparing you to Leung Sing. Chairman, you try to force through your suggestion of a joint debate on the 3 motions to adjourn the proceedings. What we want to discuss first is the Senate proposal, and we have a clear stance on the Senate proposal. But then for the other landfills, we may have different opinions. But then you lump everything together in a joint debate, and that's not appropriate. because maybe I would like to support the motion to adjourn the discussion on scent, but not NANT or WENT. Of course, you may say that separate voting will be carried out, but then we want the debate to be separate as well, Ms. Sit-Ho. In our rules of procedure, it is stated that we should focus on an item, and then the member may move without notice a certain motion. And Mr. Gary Fan spoke specifically on scent. And, well, earlier we agreed that the several items should be discussed in a joint debate, but then Mr. Gary Fan talked about the point of order, or rather Mr. Yip Kwok Kim was talking about a point of order. We thought that he was trying to speak on Mr. Gary Fan's motion, but ultimately he moved 2 other motions. So how come that he should not wait for his turn to speak to move those 2 motions? He should only do that when it was his turn to speak and to move the new motions. But then he tried to jump the queue, raising the point as a point of order. I think this is grossly inappropriate, Chairman. If members believe that after scent is duly deliberated on, then and a member said that we wanted to have a joint debate on NANT, and when then they can do so when that it is their time to speak. Then they should not be interjecting at any time.
The scent landfill is very different from the other 2 in the NT, because I think it is a planning mistake for scent to be there. No other city can you see a big landfill next to a big residential development. There already big population there, and there will be more moving in. So the reasons for objecting to scent and NANT would be very different. Some members may support the NANT landfill but oppose scent landfill. For joint debate now, I can only see one reason behind your decision is to help the administration to get this done as soon as possible. You're not helping us to consider individual projects. There are a lot of people watching this debate, and they will query, how come you think that 3 minutes are enough in a joint debate covering both that wrongly planned scent landfill and the other 2, and the extension of 15 hectares and 200 hectares are very different in terms of scale. So why must the administration keep scent landfill instead of closing it? It's past 5 p.m. We will take a break of 10 minutes and we will resume at 5:15.